In this lymphatic system, we are going to see about various lymph vessels, lymph nodes, then other lymphoid tissues. Okay, so in fact, we can call this lymphatic system as another type of circulatory system. This lymphatic system is also circulating the lymphatic fluids around the body. Okay, so the ultimate goal of the lymphatic system, what you have to understand is, it will circulate the higher molecular weight substance in the body. For example, dead bacteria, it is having higher molecular weight substance, so it travels in the lymphatic channels. Then the fats, okay, which is absorbed in the intestine, that is a fatty acid, it is higher molecular weight substance. So this is also transported through the lymphatic channels. For example, cancer cells, which is originating in one part of the body, is transported to other part of the body through lymphatic channels. Okay, so you have to understand that the higher molecular weight substances are transported through the lymphatic channels, not in the bloodstream. Okay, so where does this lymphatic channels at the end of the place it ends? It ends into the venous circulation. That's what we are going to see, the anatomical arrangement of these things in this lecture. Let's start. Coming to the learning outcome objectives, we will study about the structure and functions of lymph vessels, then composition, production of and transport of lymph, then location and function of limbs, and also you will study about this functions of lymphatic vessels, then the structure and distribution of lymphatic vessels, source of lymph and mechanism of lymph transport. Okay, coming to the organs of the lymph. For lymphatic system, there are certain organs. There are certain organs which is present in the body. So these organs are acting as a lymphatic organs. Because they give place for maturation of lymphocytes cells, and they give place for reticuloendothelial system. Reticuloendothelial system is a system in which the old red blood cells are caught and crushed, and it is the hemoglobin is taken out of the cell, and the heme and globin is divided and made circulate in the bloodstream. So that is a reticuloendothelial system. The lymphatic organ is also doing that. Okay, so we are going to discuss about these organs. So generally in this, the thymus, which is present in the bifurcation of the trachea, I would have shown. This thymus gland is very large in the newborn child, whereas it is shrinking as age progresses in the adult. Okay, the spleen is located in the left hypochondrium at the tail end of the pancreas. That is also lymphatic organ. The lymph nodes, for example, if you see closely here, the lymph vessels comes and it is connected to a node. From the node, it is another vessel originates, and like that the chain of connection is present. I will show you. Okay, just know the lymph node. You also know the nodes. When you get cold infection, you get some swelling in the throat, like a peanut shape or like a bean shaped, okay, swelling, isn't it? Suppose if you get a wound in the leg, you get the swelling in the groin. That is the enlarged lymph node. The lymph node can be palpated only when it is enlarged. Okay, then lymphoid tissues. For example, in the small intestine, there are high amount of lymphoid tissues. In respiratory passage, like the tonsils, that is having high amount of lymphoid tissues. Likewise, in urinary passage also there is lymphoid tissues. Wherever, and in appendix also there is lymphoid tissues. So these are the tissues which gives place for maturation of lymphocyte cells. Okay, we will have germinal centers and lymphocyte cells will mature. Okay, so coming to the lymphatic system, lymphoid organ and the tissues, there are two systems combined: lymphatic vessels, lymph node and the lymph, and also the lymphoid organ and the tissues. So these are all the structures we are going to study in the lymphatic system. the basic function of the lymphatic system is to help with the immune system. Okay, as I told you, in lymphatic tissues, the lymphoid cells are maturing. These lymphoid cells are the WBC lymphocyte cells are WBC cells. We have T lymphocyte cells and B lymphocyte cells. They are the WBC cells, and these WBC cell are maturing in this lymphatic system, and also the immunoglobulins are produced in the lymphatic tissues. We will see that one by one. Okay, now let's go with the lymphatic system functions. So the lymph vessel function is to return tissue fluid, proteins, fats and other substance in parallel to the venous return. Okay, and lymphatic tissues and organs are working as immune functions. It is working as immune functions. So in fact we cannot see the lymphatic vessels with our naked eye. These are microscopic vessels. We cannot say blood vessels. Lymphatic vessels present in the subcutaneous layer of the skin. It is present in the subcutaneous layer of the skin. But the largest lymphatic vessel is the thoracic duct and the right lymphatic duct. I will show you in the model so that you will be able to understand the lymphatic duct. Okay, so when you speak about the lymph vessels, it is a one-way circulatory system. The lymph fluid travels only in one direction. Okay, more than 50% of lymph comes from liver and small intestine, carries clear fluid 2 to 4 liters per 24 hours, blind end capillaries, open to allow proteins, even large particles and cells, collect vessels from the trunk which leads to duct formation, superficial lymph travels with veins and deeper vessels travels with the arteries. Okay, these are all the thing you have to know about the lymphatic vessels. So coming to this log diagram, you see this is a tissue. In the tissue there is a venule, there is arteriole, there is capillary bed. Okay, likewise there are lymphatic channels also. So what happens in this, the tissue fluid comes to the cells and some fluid escapes into the lymphatic channels and they start to travel. Okay, even the fatty acids, they escape into lymphatic channels and they start to travel. Even the cancer cells, the dead bacteria, all these goes, you can see the valve inside which allows the fluid to travel only in one direction, and it goes and ends in the lymph node. In the lymph node there are afferent duct and efferent duct. This efferent duct will, from the lymph node, they will store the dead bacteria or the cancer cells, and the remaining fluid keeps moving to the next lymph node. From the finally at the end of the distribution, they go and join the major veins. They are going and joining the major veins, and then this along with the venous blood, the lymphatic fluid is also mixing and going to the heart. This is how the lymph channel is provided. Suppose if I cut this here, what happens? The tissue will get swell, lymphedema we call it as, because the tissue will be accumulated in the adjacent areas of the cell and the fluid doesn't keep draining. Okay, so in the cancer, if I see a lot of cancer cells in the lymph node, I remove it. So what happens? The wound doesn't heal because more amount of lymph fluid will be leaking. So that's what we call the lymphoria. This is happening in the radical mastectomy, that is removal of the breast along with the removal of axillary lymph nodes. Okay, this is a concept you need to understand in here. Okay, so now what you see here is the right body and the left body. Okay, the right body and the left body. So watch carefully. This is the right body, and so let me write down. Okay, we divide the body into this is the right body and this is a left body. Okay, so what happens? Wait, let me remove this. Okay, so what happens? I will show in the another picture. in all the place these microscopic lymph vessels are present, that is collecting as a lymph node. Then in the inguinal area also there are lymph nodes. Okay, at the end of the day they go and open into the veins. I will show you that in a separate picture. Okay, now you can see the thoracic duct. This is a thoracic duct, the long tube. I will show you in the model, you will be able to understand. Okay, then the digestive tract, there are so instead of this I will show you in this picture. Okay, so this is a thoracic duct. Okay, the largest lymphatic vessel. Okay, this is called as cisterna chyli. This bulge is called as the cisterna chyli. This cisterna chyli receives all the lymph drainage from the intestine through the Peyer's patches of the intestine, and then it comes to the cisterna chyli. From cisterna chyli it goes and finally drains into the left subclavian vein. Likewise, the right side of the body lymphatic duct comes and drains and connects into the right subclavian vein. Okay, so I will show in the model, you will be able to understand. Now, very important thing you need to understand in this picture. You can see the green color and you can see the brown color. What does this denote? Okay, this is the right side and this is the left side. So in the right side, half of the face, half of the lung area and half of the full upper limb, these areas lymph fluid goes all the way and drains through this right lymphatic duct. Okay, whereas the remaining part of the body, this head, neck, lungs, abdomen, both lower limbs and left upper limb, all these areas comes and joins through the thoracic duct and then to this place. Okay, so why this is given in green color, why this is given in brown color? There is, okay, you have to understand this. For example, if this patient has lung cancer in the right side, so what happens? From this area the cancer cell can spread to the right brain only, whereas in the left side, if the patient is having breast cancer, from here it can go to the brain. The cancer cell can go to the brain, the cancer cell can come to the intestine, cancer cell can come to the pelvics, causing pelvic cancer. So the left side cancer can have the chance to spread in any part of the body, because the lymph distribution is in this direction. Okay, whereas the right side of the body, the cancer can spread only in this green color zone. Okay, this is what you have to understand. The green color area has lymphatic drainage in the right lymphatic duct, whereas the brown color area has lymphatic drainage in the thoracic duct, the longest duct that is opening in the left internal tubular left subclavian vein. Okay, so this is what you have to understand. So let me show the thoracic duct in the model also, so that you will be able to have a better understanding. Okay, if you see here, this is the thoracic duct. This is the thoracic duct. This thoracic duct will go and open in the right subclavian vein. You can see here. See, this thoracic duct is opening in the brachiocephalic vein or the subclavian. This is subclavian vein. It is opening in this junction. Okay, let me remove this bone. Okay, this is the opening of the thoracic duct. The thoracic duct is the longest duct. The thoracic duct is the longest duct in the body. You can see how long the thoracic duct is. Okay, whereas in the right side, this is the right lymphatic duct. And you can see it's very small. And it is collecting the lymph fluid only from this area of the body, only from this area of the body. Okay, only from this area of the body. Okay, so here what you can see here is, this is the longest lymphatic duct is this thoracic duct, and this bulge is called as a cisterna chyli. This bulge is called as a cisterna chyli. These are all various lymph nodes. These are all the various lymph nodes. I will give the names. I will give you the names. For example, these are all the cervical lymph nodes. Okay, auricular lymph nodes. Okay, like axillary lymph nodes. These are the axillary lymph nodes. So likewise, according to the area wise, the lymph nodes are named. The lymph nodes are named according to the area wise. Okay, so now let's go to this other lymph transport. So when this lymph fluid are transported, through the junction of the internal jugular vein and the subclavian vein. Like venous system uses skeletal muscle pump, respiratory pressure changes, valves, smooth muscle rhythmic contraction. Think about consequence of immobilizing. Okay, for example, the lymph vessels are spread in the tissues also, in subcutaneous tissue. So by the help of skeletal muscle some contraction also, this lymph fluid keeps traveling. Okay, so lymphangitis means inflammation of the lymph vessels. You can see there is redness. Okay, this is the lymphangitis. Okay, this is the inflammation of the lymph vessels. Okay, lymphadenitis is present. That is, lymphadenitis is inflammation of the lymph node. Okay, inflammation of the lymph node is called as a lymphadenitis. Okay, next is a lymphedema. See here, for example, you can see this is called as the lymphedema. We can call it also call it as elephantiasis. This is a condition where the lymph channels are blocked by the parasite called Wuchereria bancrofti. You can Google it. Okay, Wuchereria bancrofti, and that organism will block the lymphatic channels, and finally the lymph flow is disturbed. So naturally there will be collection of extracellular fluid and the edema is present for the whole life. Okay, this leads to ulcer and enormous amount of damage. This leads to ulcer and enormous amount of damage. Okay, so this is swelling due to lymph edema. This is what we call it as lymphedema. Okay, next let's describe the basic structure and cellular population of lymphoid tissues. Differentiate between diffuse and follicular lymphoid tissues. Okay, so there are T lymphocyte cells which is produced by the thymus gland. Okay, they manage immune response in the body. Then B lymphocyte cells which is produced by the bone marrow, and then they are also maturing in the lymph nodes. Okay, and the lymphatic tissues. Okay, so all these cells are the lymphatic system cells, antibodies. Okay, what are the antibodies? There are different antibodies, IgG, IgM, IgA, IgE. Different types of antibody immunoglobulins are present. Okay, so they immobilize antigens for destruction by phagocytosis. Then macrophages they swallow the bacteria. Okay, dendritic cells, they are present in the skin, activate T cells and capture the antigens. Then reticular cells, okay, they are also the lymph meshwork. Okay, so the other important components of the lymphatic tissues are, they house and proliferate site for lymphocyte. Okay, proliferation, what do you mean by the word proliferation? Actually, the stem cells will be present, and in the lymphatic tissue the growth of these lymphocytes are present. Okay, so that's what we call it as so it houses macrophages and lymphocytes. Then it is present in the GI tract. So in the small intestine, in the submucous layer, you have a thick lymphoid tissue. That's what we call it as Peyer's patches. We call that as Peyer's patches in the digestive tract. Okay, then you have this lymphatic tissue cells are present in the reticular connective tissue also, where you have the macrophage cells, lymphocyte cells, and the other cells. Okay, these are all the lymphatic system cells in the reticular fibers. Okay, then coming to the primary lymphoid organ, as I told you, there are B cells and the B lymphocyte cells and T lymphocyte cells. Both originate in the red bone marrow. Okay, and then they develop in the secondary lymphoid organs like lymph nodes, spleen, and what is MALT? That is mucosa associated lymphatic tissue, that is white milk like fluid. Okay, that is present, that will be traveling in the thoracic duct, that's called as MALT, mucosa associated lymphatic tissues. Okay, this kind of tissue is present in the tonsils, Peyer's patches, and the appendix. Okay, and the appendix. Next, let's go to the lymphoid organ. We will speak about the tonsils. Okay, tonsils are nothing but the aggregation of lymphatic tissues. Tonsils are nothing but the aggregation of the lymphatic tissues. I will show you the tonsils. If you see here, I have to open this mouth. Okay, see, this is the tonsillar tissues. This is the tonsillar tissues. Can you see here? This is the tonsillar tissues, and this is present in the pharyngeal arch. This is present in the pharyngeal arch. I will show you. Okay, here, this is the tonsil tissue. This is the tonsil tissue. Okay, and for children's, whenever there is persistence of infection in the throat, this tonsillar tissue will go in for swelling. Okay, this tonsillar tissue will go in for swelling. So when this swelling happens, we have to give antibiotic and suppress the tonsils. Okay, sometimes there can be recurrent tonsillar infection. There can be recurrent tonsillar infection. So what happens in this case? This tonsillar tissue will become hypertrophy. The tone of the tonsillar tissue will increase, and it will start to block the mouth passage. So these children have difficulty to swallow. These children will have difficulty to swallow when you have the tonsillar tissues. These children have difficulty to swallow when there is a hypertrophy of tonsillar tissues. Keep this in one point, clinical point I will tell you. Keep this in mind. If a child is getting tonsil infection more than 5 or 6 times in a year, this shows that it is Staph aureus infection, which can lead to rheumatic heart disease like mitral stenosis. Okay, in pathology this is a very important topic. Keep this in mind. If a child is having tonsil infection more than 6 times in a year, then you have to screen the child for rheumatic heart disease. Okay, rheumatic heart disease, where the mitral valve will be narrowed. We call it as mitral stenosis, and it gives severe amount of headache for the child in the future. Okay, so keep this in mind. So this is nothing but a collection of lymphatic tissue. The tonsils are nothing but a collection of lymphatic tissue. Then the thymus gland. This thymus gland is present in the bifurcation of the trachea. This thymus gland is present in the bifurcation of the trachea. If you see here, this is a thymus gland. This is a thymus gland. You can see it is present in the posterior aspect of the sternum. Okay, so in the grown-up adult, you cannot appreciate this gland. It will be a redundant. Okay, it will be redundant tissue. But in the newborn child cadaver, when you cut the newborn cadaver and open, you can see a big thymus gland. You can see a big size thymus gland. Okay, that is extending up to the neck. And the patients who are suffering with lymphoma, blood cancer, leukemia, they have enlargement of this thymus gland and the spleen. Okay, they have enlargement of the thymus gland and the spleen. Okay, next you have the spleen. This spleen is present in the this spleen is present in the tail end of the pancreas. Okay, if you see here, this is the pancreas gland, this is the pancreas gland, and this is the tail end of the pancreas. Okay, so you know that spleen is very doing important function. It is holding around 300 ml of blood. Okay, the spleen is called as a temporary reservoir of the blood. Whenever there is severe blood loss, some sympathetic mechanism will make the spleen to squeeze and release the reserved blood. Okay, and the spleen is also acting as a reticuloendothelial system. Okay, so the spleen is acting as a temporary reservoir of blood, and it is supplied by the splenic artery. It is supplied by the splenic artery. You can see this is the splenic artery that is going to the spleen. This is the splenic artery that is going to the spleen. Okay, it is going to the spleen here. Okay, this is the branches distribution of the splenic artery. Okay, so it is running on the superior border of the pancreas. It is running on the superior border of the pancreas, and this spleen, apart from that, it has some other function. Okay, next you have the this Peyer's patches. Okay, so you know what this the lymph node. If you see the lymph node, you can see the lymph node is present in this place. If you cut the lymph node, these are all the various parts of lymph node that we will discuss now. We will discuss that lymph node now. Okay, next coming to the next objective, general histological structure of the lymph node. Okay, we are going to discuss about the lymph node. This lymph node cleansing the lymph fluid. Okay, then act as a filter. Then follicular, it has cortex, outer cortex, and they neutralize the bacteria. Okay, swell with antigen accumulation. For example, if you get any small wound in the leg, next day you see the enlargement in the inguinal region. A lymph node will enlarge. A lymph node enlarges always whenever there is infection. Okay, whenever there is infection, the lymph node will enlarge. Okay, the infection may be bacterial or any other. Even in the cancers, metastatic cancers, the lymph node will swell. Okay, even in tuberculosis, the lymph node will swell. Even in tuberculosis, there will be swelling of the lymph nodes. Okay, so coming to the parts of the lymph node, this is the afferent lymph vessels. It has a wall, and this is the afferent lymph vessels. It has the wall. So these are all the germinal centers where the lymphocyte cells will proliferate. Okay, so the lymph fluid comes here along with bacteria. The bacteria gets trapped here, and again the remaining lymph node will pass out. This junction is called as a hilum. This junction is called as a hilum. The outermost layer is made up of connective tissue. And there are trabecular extension of connective tissue that is forming the septum inside the lymph node. This lymph node is palpable only when it is enlarged. Okay, this lymph node is palpable only when there is enlargement of the lymph node by the bacterial infection or any metastatic tumor, any cancer multiplication. That time only you can see the enlarged lymph node. Okay, so this is the different names. You can see the cortex, hilum, afferent vessel, then you have the trabeculae, germinal centers, and all this stuff. Okay, then infected lymph nodes. For example, as I told you, why especially in females, what happens? The lymph node is examined. So whenever there is a breast cancer examination, they palpate the breast, they palpate the breast area. Okay, they palpate the breast area, and also they palpate the axilla, because if you see in this picture, the lymph node in the females are distributed. Let me show you in this. Okay, this is a breast tissue. This is a breast tissue. Okay, this is a breast tissue in female. This is the breast tissue, and this is the adipose tissue of the breast. Okay, and this is the supportive connective tissue, suspensory ligament. We call it as suspensory ligament, and these are all the mammary glands. These are all the mammary glands. These are the mammary glands. Okay, so sorry, these are the mammary glands. So if you look at the lymph vessels here, you see these lymph vessels from the breast are draining towards the axilla. Okay, these lymph vessels from the breast are draining towards the axilla. Okay, so what happens whenever there is a cancer origin here, this cancer cell travels through these lymph channels to the axillary lymph node, then collect the lymph node there. From there it spreads to other organs like lungs or stomach or to the brain, anywhere. Okay, so that is why what happens in radical mastectomy, they remove the breast tissue, as well as they remove the lymph node that is enlarged, that is present in the axillary region, because this lymph node will contain the cancer cells. Okay, that's what we call it as radical mastectomy. Okay, so next, okay, next we go to the spleen and the lymph nodes. Okay, spleen, functional spleen, if you see, it is the site for lymphocyte proliferation, then extraction of aged defective blood cells and the platelet. That's what we call the reticular endothelial system. As I told, the old RBCs are trapped in the small sinusoids in the lymph and they are crushed. Okay, the reticular endothelial system. Then foreign matters and blood removed by the specific macrophages stores cell products and RBC production in fetus. Okay, as I told you, the fetal bone will not have any bone marrow, so the hemopoiesis is done by the liver and the spleen. Okay, so this is one of the function of the spleen. So spleen will be producing the blood cells in the childhood stage. Then also it stores the platelet cells. Histologically, if you see, the spleen will have the white pulp and the red pulp. Red pulp are nothing but this splenic sinusoids. You can see the spleen here. You can see these are all the red pulp and the white pulp. Okay, where there is more amount of blood vessels. Okay, so the spleen is acting as a temporary reservoir of blood. It can hold up to 300 ml of blood. Then MALT, that is mucosa associated lymphatic tissues. That's what we're going to discuss about it. So these type of tissues are present in the palatine tonsils, lingual tonsils. Where is this lingual tonsils? Okay, so actually what you have seen here is the palatine tonsil. What you have seen here is the palatine tonsil. I will remove the mandible bone, and here this is the palatine tonsil. This is the palatine tonsil. This is the tonsil. This is the palatine tonsil. Okay, you can see this is the palatine tonsil, whereas the lingual tonsil is present in the posterior aspect of the tongue. The lingual tonsil is present in the posterior aspect of the tongue. You see here, this area is acting as a lymphatic tissue in the posterior aspect of the tongue, which there is mucosa like lymphatic tissues in the present in this area. See, wherever there is high prevalence of infection, there is mucosa associated lymphatic tissue. Mouth is an important junction which is having around 3000 types of bacteria in everyone's mouth. When you grow up, when you wake up, when you at the end of the day after you eat, okay, you are breathing in, so more amount of bacteria survives in this region. So that is why the more amount of lymphatic tissue is present, more amount of lymphatic tissue is, this is called as the lingual tonsils, this is called as a lingual tonsils. Okay, so now then you have the tubal tonsils. For example, in the auditory tube, the we have the lymphatic tissues, we call it as a tubal tonsils. We call this as Essusian tube, we call this as Essusian tube. Okay, then coming to the next slide, you see this is the microscopic structure of the palatine tonsils. You can see the germinal centers where the lymphocytes produce, and these are the tonsillar crypts that is present. These are the, you can see the palatine pharyngeal tonsil here, palatine tonsil here, and lingual tonsils in the posterior aspect of the tongue, the lingual. Then coming to the Peyer's patches, when you take small intestine is duodenum, jejunum and ileum, and cut, you have the outermost serous layer, then muscular layer, then the mucus layer. In the mucus layer there is submucous layer, that is a layer between the mucus and the muscular layer. There you have thick amount of lymphatic tissues where you see lot of germinal centers here. This is called as the Peyer's patches. This is called as the Peyer's patches, and the fat is converted into fatty acid and absorbed into the Peyer's patches, I mean into the intestine, small intestine, and those fatty acids are transported through these Peyer's patches into the cisterna chyli and the thoracic duct. Okay, then you have the appendix. The appendix is also present in the right iliac fossa. The appendix is also present in the right iliac fossa. This is the appendix. You can see this is the appendix. You can see the appendix here, which is present in the right iliac fossa. This appendix is a thickness of your small little finger. This appendix is a thickness of your little finger, and there is also more amount of lymphatic tissue in that. It is also killing the bacteria that is present coming to the cecum. Okay, then structure and functions of the thymus gland. So as you know, the thymus is bilobed structure. Okay, they make an hormone called thymosin and thymopoietin, which enhances the immunocompetency of T cells. Then prominent in newborn, as I told you, and it disappears in the adult. Okay, so when the adult gets puberty, in the female, they will disappear. Okay, then thymus differ from other lymphatic organ, has no follicles because it lacks B cells, does not fight directly fights with antigens. Okay, then they mature the T lymphocyte cells, they produce the T lymphocyte cells, and it is present here. You can see it is having the outer capsule, which is made up of connective tissue, the cortex, medulla, and the thymic corpuscles, which produces the thymosin. Okay, so these are all the various things, these are all the structures you have to know about the lymphatic system. These are all the structures you have to know about the lymphatic system. So on the whole, you have to know that the full lymphatic system is present everywhere in the body. Okay, the lymphatic system is present everywhere in the body. Let me show an enlarged. Okay, one small question: what is the largest what size the lymph node can enlarge? I want to show you the Google search. Okay, largest lymph node, the largest lymph node. Enlarged lymph node. Okay, you see, okay, you see this is the enlarged lymph node. Okay, this is the enlarged lymph node, and okay, you can see the size of the enlarged lymph node. Okay. So likewise, you see this is also one of the lump, which is nothing but a lymph node enlargement, which is nothing but a lymph node enlargement. Okay, so I have seen around 4 centimeter size lymph node. I have seen around 4 centimeter size lymph node. So what happens in Hodgkin's lymphoma? There is a blood cancer called Hodgkin's lymphoma. There is a blood cancer called as the Hodgkin's lymphoma. You see, this is the size of the enlarged lymph node. So there will be abnormal enlargement of all the lymph nodes in the Hodgkin's lymphoma. Okay, you can see this is a Hodgkin's lymphoma. So it's a type of blood cancer. It's a type of blood cancer. You can see, you see how big the Hodgkin lymph node can enlarge, because it is having thick capsule. It is having thick capsule. This Hodgkin's lymphoma, in fact, lymph node can enlarge. Lymph node can enlarge. You also, when you have throat infection, you can see sometimes swelling in the neck. So that is the enlarged lymph nodes can be palpable only when it is enlarged. Okay, there are two types: Hodgkin's and non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. So you can see the, okay, it is nothing but a type of lymphocyte cancer, abnormal multiplication of blood cancer. Okay, so even in tuberculosis, tuberculosis lymphoma, you can see the lymph node can be enlarged. Even in the tuberculosis, there can be enlargement of lymph nodes in the neck. Okay, you can see the enlargement of lymph nodes in the neck. Okay, so this is what you have to understand about the lymphatic system. Okay, now you know the lymphatic drainage channels, you know the lymphatic organs, the tonsils, thymus, spleen, then the pairs, patches in the small intestine, then also the appendix. Okay, so this is what you have to know about the lymphatic system, and I hope this is enough for you. Okay, so let's stop with this.